Imagine waking up one day, getting bitten by a bug, and suddenly you're not just a nerd anymore. You're a hero with wings, sticky hands, and a suit that's, well, a little too see-through for comfort. Welcome to the wild world of Rick Riker. Today, we're diving into a story that feels familiar, yet somehow completely off the rails. It's the tale of the dragonfly, and trust me, by the end of this, you'll realize that being a superhero isn't all capes and glory. Sometimes, it's just a lot of awkward social encounters and accidentally blowing up elderly women. Our story kicks off with Rick, a high schooler who is basically the poster child for unlucky. He's sprinting after his school bus, heart pounding, face redder than a tomato, only to faceplant into a stop sign. And then another one. When he finally makes it to the door, he gets smacked right in the face. It's the kind of entrance that screams main character energy, but for all the wrong reasons. Once inside, the social hierarchy of high school hits him like a ton of bricks. No one wants to sit next to him, not even the ugly chicks, as his friend Trey points out. Rick's got his eyes on the prize though, his crush Jill. Too bad she's sitting with her Chad boyfriend Lance. Trey tries to give him a reality check. Rick isn't in the popular crew, he's not even a nerd or an emo. He's just Rick. But everything changes on a field trip to a science lab. You know the drill: high-tech equipment, genetic modification, and a total lack of safety protocols. Rick tries to impress Jill but ends up making a fool of himself. He tries to take a photo of a genetically modified bird, but despite the no-flash rule, his camera goes off. The bird doesn't just get annoyed, it spontaneously combusts. In the ensuing chaos, Rick tries to put out the fire but accidentally launches the extinguisher at Lance. This leads to a confrontation where we meet Lou Landers, the CEO of the company and Lance's uncle. Lou is coughing blood into a napkin, the good kind of cough blood he claims, and we learn he knew Rick's parents. It's a touching moment, or it would be, if a super dragonfly wasn't currently missing from its cage. While Rick is inexplicably busy battling a raccoon outside, the dragonfly finds him and delivers a life-changing bite. Back home, things get weird. Rick is looking like death warmed over. He tries to feed the fish but vomits in the tank instead. His uncle Albert tries to help by reading from a book about puberty, but he's accidentally reading a section on monthly cycles. Rick just passes out, leaving us wondering, is he turning into a hero or just a very sick teenager? Meanwhile, Lou Landers is facing his own crisis. His board of directors wants him out, and he only has 1 hour left to live. He hops into a machine intended to save his life, but it malfunctions. Instead of curing him, it turns him into a life-force-sucking supervillain. He grabs a board member, drains his essence, and suddenly, Lou is feeling great, and looking for more victims. As Rick starts to discover his powers, the movie takes a turn for the surreal. He gets a friend request from Professor X, and attends a science fair where Stephen Hawking shows up to tell everyone how depressed he is. It's dark, it's witty, and it sets the stage for Rick's big awakening. He realizes his hands are sticky and hairy, and in a slow-motion fight with Lance, he accidentally sends the bully flying into Hawking. Panicked, Rick runs outside and realizes he can climb walls. Inspiration strikes, he does a little dance on the side of a building, and then sees an old lady in the path of a runaway truck. He saves her. The crowd cheers. He's a hero. Until he realizes he pushed her and her dog directly into a wood chipper. Yeah, the hero business is off to a rocky start. The emotional core of the story hits when Rick talks to his uncle Albert and Trey about his new powers. Albert, being a man of action, decides to test Rick's invincibility by stabbing him. Luckily, it works. But Rick is hesitant. He never wanted this. This leads to a flashback of his parents' death. It's a parody of the classic Batman/Spider-Man origin, but with a twist. Rick tries to be a hero during the robbery and inadvertently causes the gunman to shoot his mom, then a light post, then another light post. His dad literally begs him to stop helping. It's a hilarious yet tragic commentary on the great responsibility trope. Rick decides he's not worthy of his father's heirloom ring and throws it away, only for it to boomerang back and hit him in the eye. Life just won't let him quit. He tries to navigate his feelings for Jill, who lives next door. Her fence is electric for some reason, and her boyfriend Lance is always pulling up in a cool car, while Rick's bicycle gets stolen the second he looks away. He's at rock bottom. A video message from Professor X, which gets interrupted by pop-ups for car loans, convinces him he needs to train. He tries to get a bank loan for a car, gets rejected, and when the bank gets robbed, he helps the robber with a tricky door. When the teller complains, Rick hits him with a classic line, "I missed the part where that's my problem." Seconds later, gunshots ring out. Rick finds Uncle Albert collapsed on the road. Albert delivers a half-baked speech about responsibility and passes out. while Rick deals with hospital visits and a bizarre tour of Xavier's school for gifted children, where he sees mutants doing everything from invisible pranks to telekinetic baby launching. Lou Landers, now calling himself the Hourglass, is busy concocting an evil plan. He needs to drain the life force of over 47,000 people to become immortal. And what better place to find a crowd than a massive convention? Rick, now donning a dragonfly suit that he initially made see-through by mistake, starts his career as a vigilante. He gets a job at a newspaper taking photos of himself and eventually faces off against the Hourglass at a university. The fight is intense. They even have to stop to puke because the camera is spinning too fast, but the Hourglass escapes. The tension builds as we reach Thanksgiving. Rick invites Jill over, but the dinner is crashed by Lance and Uncle Lou. In a suspenseful sequence, Lou becomes suspicious and follows Rick upstairs. Rick is literally draining the main vein and has to hide on the ceiling, dripping sweat on Lou's head. It's a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek that ends with Lou realizing Rick is the dragonfly. The stakes get personal when the Hourglass attacks Rick's aunt, leading to a funeral that is as chaotic as the rest of the movie. Think casket mix-ups and accidental cremations. Rick is broken. He grows a depression beard and gives up until Uncle Albert and Trey give him a pep talk. Armed with his father's ring, which has affordable healthcare inscribed on it, Rick heads to the convention to stop Lou. He accidentally beats up the Dalai Lama thinking he's the villain, but eventually finds the real Hourglass. The final battle takes place on a rooftop. The Hourglass is seconds away from immortality, and Jill is caught in the crossfire. In a moment of absolute absurdity, Jill notices Rick's ring as they're falling to their deaths. She confesses her love, and the power of his feelings causes Rick to sprout actual dragonfly wings. He flies her to safety, defeats the villain, and in this version of the story, almost everyone ends up dead anyway. It's a wild satirical ride that asks the question, what happens when the chosen one is actually a total disaster? Rick Riker might not be the hero we wanted, but he's the one we got. So, here's a question for you. If you got bitten by a genetically modified insect tomorrow, would you use your powers for good, or would you probably just end up accidentally blowing up a bird too? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to stay tuned for more stories where the hero is just as confused as we are. Thanks for watching.